Hi, welcome into this SBA EIDL Loan Increase update. SBA EIDL funds exhausted, grants, banking activity, which is going to be very important for you to listen in. This is going to be the most important part of this video, believe it or not, aside from EIDL, what you must know with banking activity, certain qualifications for certain programs, lenders, brokerages, etc., and why, if you're not paying close enough attention to these qualifications, you are going to be spinning your wheels, wasting a lot of your time and energy. And this is stuff that I'll communicate with you a lot of the times. I'll be speaking about the employee retention credit, how to get business funding 101 tips, and so much more, grant opportunities. But before I get started, if you're watching me right now, please give me a hashtag live in the comments or a hashtag replay if you're watching later on. I'm very grateful of each and every one of you being in here watching this video. It sounds strange, but it's kind of been a long week. I know we took the day off yesterday to celebrate Memorial Day and to celebrate those who have fought for our country and who put themselves out on the line and sacrificed tremendously, those who are with us now and those who are not with us. So I'm very grateful and appreciative. And I'm hopeful that many of you are re-energized and ready to take on the rest of the week moving forward, because guess what? I am as well. So I'm going to get into the EIDL loan increases. I won't be wasting any more time. Now, as we know, the funds are exhausted, okay? There are still people getting processed. There may be some back-end funds that we don't know of that's being depleted on a daily basis. This isn't stuff that's mentioned to you publicly. If you were to go ahead and just call customer support, email, they would tell you at face value. This is stuff that can be happening on the back end, but it's only a limited amount. So my question to you, since the SBA EIDL funds are exhausted, what is your next move? I'm going to start right here and now, and that's going to lead into the banking activity and certain qualifications you need to understand. And I'm going to get into the share screen with you. I have my document you cannot see right now, but I'm going to get into the share screen, and this is going to be very vital for you because I've had so many people who automatically go and apply, whether it's through me as their broker/agent or some other intermediary, and they're like, well, this didn't work for me. And then they come to me and they start asking me questions. Perhaps I didn't communicate it with you because you went through a more streamlined process or you went somewhere else. So I'm going to make sure you understand all of that and more. We're going to get this done in hopefully less than 15 minutes. So this is going to try to be a very tight one. So please squeeze in, take a seat. If you haven't already, you have your popcorn. This is going to be a show. So pay close attention. There's nothing else out there like this on YouTube. I know there are people who are discussing grant opportunities, the employee retention credit, PPP funding, SBA, but tell me how many of them are legitimate brokers, experts in the space and helping out different industries who will actually show you what you need to bring to the table outside of an EIDL loan, outside of PayPal Working Capital, Square, Shopify. What do you do when the banks deny you? When you're given an opportunity through a private lender, or what you have to know to get approved for one? That's my question to you. And when you're done with this video, just think that through. If you don't trust me, I get it. Perhaps this is the first time. But hopefully by the time you're done watching this, I've earned your trust to some degree. Because like yourself, I don't give trust easily. I'm an introvert. It's hard enough for me to be here face-to-face on a video. But I feel like this will give you the most amount of value. Now, that's on the side of EIDL loan increases, what I just spoke about very lightly. But what are you going to do when the SBA EIDL funds are completely exhausted, which is what we're looking at now? And what will you do if the EIDL loan program comes back and it happens again? Are you going to continuously email, try to get into your back office portal if it's even open? You're going to try to ask for a loan modification, another reconsideration. You're going to try to appeal your declines. The list goes on. And some you can fight and win. But if a majority of you have not, and I have some numbers here that I'm going to break down bit per bit. So of the 21 plus million loan reviews or the loan requests, about 3.9 million were approved. And if my numbers are correct, that's slightly underneath 19%, more about, I would average it approximately, it'd be a little bit less, but about 18.5% of an approval rate. Now that is very low considering how many people have applied. I do apologize if it is a little dark. I'm going to move this. I've said this before. I got a new HP laptop that I haven't gone in and try to adjust the lighting. I have it right here. It has this huge white ring around it, but I have to go in it and play around with it and see what I could do a little bit better. Unlike my last computer, I had to replace it because the keyboards weren't working well. That's aside from the fact. Let's not get on a tangent. But that is the statistic at 18.5%. And if you know me, I like numbers. So I just broke it down for you, and I could do the numbers on my own end, which I've done. And this is stuff that I'm also receiving from the loan officers and everybody on the back end of the SBA. This is stuff that you just don't get. I have a lot of information being given to me, and as I keep getting it, I am going to continue to release it on this channel. So it's very vital that you pay attention to all of this. So, question, and I'm writing it down right here myself. What are you going to do post-EIDL? Are you just going to ask, well, what else is available? I need something that's close to the EIDL loan. I have had people, especially last week, plenty of people asking me that same question. I want something that's close enough to EIDL. And I give them the reality of this, is there is nothing close to an EIDL loan. PPP, grants, PPP turned into grants, forgivenesses, the targeted advance grant, the nonprofit 2.75 or so percent you can get with an EIDL loan, at 3.75% for profits. There's nothing else close enough to that. You're talking about rates between, if not 5%, 6%, well, 5% to about 10% into the low early teens, if you also back that up by collateral. So you have to have good details. I talk about the three: collateral, cash flow, and credit. If those three are not great and they're just good can get you through. But you have to keep in mind that if you have collateral assets to give up, that is what's going to get your foot in the door to more of those 7%, 8% interest rates, early teens, 11%, 12%, 13, 15. Now, if we're talking about getting into the 10, 15, and now we're getting into the 20% range, that is not necessarily bad. A lot of people end up getting rates that are between 20% to 50%, or in some cases 50% and above, up to 200%, depending on the risk of your profile. So a lot of people with EIDL loans needed to prove that they've been heavily impacted or in a specifically hit demographic area to be able to receive those funds for working capital, payroll. Debt consolidation was then something added on with the increase of the amount for up to $2 million. So if a lot of you have capped out, if you've been asking me that question, can I get more? Answer is no. Once you cap out, you realistically cannot get any more. And if you did not cap out, as you know right now, if you've been watching my previous content, you can no longer go start an application. You can't go request an increase. There are still people in the queue. That doesn't necessarily mean at this point that they will all get the funding. So I've spoken to the majority of you, and I've let you know, hey, there are alternative options. If you're in the queue at this moment, as in today, it'll be much more difficult. Funds are exhausted. There may still be a little bit of back-end funding, hundreds upon thousands, but those go like that. And the amount of people who are still in the queue, about thousands upon thousands, you got to look at the numbers. So you have to be right now preparing for what is my alternative. So let's start off with this, and then I'm going to jump into, in about 5 minutes, I'll get into the qualifications showing you the document. So please stick with me. And also let me know where you are tuning in from. How is your day going? Did you enjoy your 3-day weekend? What did you do yesterday? What do you have going on the rest of the week? Do you have to operate your business daily? Are you going to take a little bit of time for yourself? I spoke to a few people last week who said, you know, Michael, I've been meaning to get back to you, but I really do need to take a lot of time for myself. And I say this every single time. I'm not going to pressure you. I was on the phone call with a few individuals the other day. Yeah, do what you need to do. Take care of yourself. That's what I do first. Prioritize your health above anything, above your business. Go relax, soak out in the sun, go hang out with your friends and family, go have a nice dinner. The next day, do the same thing more or less, but take time away to take care of yourself. Please, that's what I ask from you. And then regenerate, recover, see it from the outside in when you take some time away. And then that will help you push your business to the next level, to the nth degree, to that nth power. So stick with me. Now, what I have to say is post-EIDL, what is very important for you to understand is there are these solutions available. You have things like merchant cash advances, where you generally see something between a 20%. If you want to calculate it in interest, it's more less of an APR, more towards a rate, a factor rate, or a total payback. But you can calculate it in a similar sense. But you're looking at more between 15 or 20% and above, up to 50% or so, up to even sometimes up to 200%. But not in a lot of cases these days. It is going to be much harder to get a grant. Excuse me. Speaking and going to these conferences, now that I know, grants are not going to be as easily accessible. Sure, they exist, but how hard will it be to get one? That's what you need to be asking yourself. And the reality is it's very limited. There may be a lot, and new ones coming out, they get shut down, they come back up. How many of them are applying, people-wise? So many. So you have to be careful about all that. Now, merchant cash advances, you have hybrid cash advances. You also have unsecured term loans where we can get you between 1 to 3% for 1 to 2 years. Sometimes depends. It could be 2 to 10 years, depending on the lenders. And it would be between a 25 to about a 50% in interest. Some of them accumulate. If you have 2 years and you have between 1 to 3% interest, you have 2% over the 24 months. That's, you do the math on that, 48% interest. 24 months by 2% every single month at a fixed, not a variable. Now you're seeing that you're going to get a 48% interest for about a year, for about 2 years. However, it also has to come down to your funding details. Fundability is what I critically emphasize every single one of these videos. And that meaning, what does your time in business say? What specific industry are you in? Business name, DBA as well. That's also a factor in some cases, not all. You're looking at your credit, FICO-wise, consumer credit reports. Does it report to credit bureaus? Or excuse me, which one's done in Bradstreet? If it doesn't, that's fine. It's not all the time that you need it to be reporting to the credit bureaus, to the business credit bureaus, especially if you don't have business credit established, or you do. It's just not sufficient enough, or you just don't want something to report as an inquiry and so forth. And then you also have a few other components that go in the mix there. You have things like your amount of revenue, very important. If we're looking at it from a cash flow perspective, we can also combine cash flow with collateral. But if you have collateral to give up, let's say you're doing $20,000 a month, you're wanting $100,000. Well, realistically, you get 10 to 15% of your annual gross sales given to you, if not up to 20%. And the reality is you lean more into the 10 to 12%. That's on average. I'm not saying your cases, unless you have exceptional details. But for the majority, it's that 10 to 12%. And that's pushing it past 12% in a lot of cases, because I'm going to get into the banking activity and you're going to see exactly what I mean and why people have been getting declined today. So many. I kid you not. And if you're one of those individuals who have tried emailing and saying, hey, we just need to collect your April's month of bank statements, we need your February or relative to the time we're in. So it may be that you're watching this 2 months from now, and it may be that we need your May and so forth. But please, when you go upload documentation, try to have everything already. Try not to upload one document and then another, and then come to find out that we're asking for more information. And then you're like, now I got to go do this again. And so it's a factor of habits and routine. And what's going to happen is you're going to lean towards the least amount of resistance. And it's going to feel like you don't want to go and complete your application because now I have this other bank statement that I could have uploaded in the beginning, but I just did not do it. So if I've reached out to you, please get those bank statements submitted back to myself and or who I've sent you information to send it back to, and that's how we can get it all collected. So please take the time to do that. And today is the last day of May. And starting tomorrow, if you have not started an application or perhaps you're in it, we may need your May's bank statements or some other date of transactions, or we'll look at other things and we may have to request them. So keep that on the back of your mind because it's a new month that's rolled around. Now, if you were to get it done before the 31st, not rolling into the 1st, and it's not like you have an offer yet, then it's a different story. We may not need to collect your May's worth of bank statements. So it's very important that you understand that. Banking activity, monthly, lowest monthly sales, average monthly revenue, very important you have together. We base things off of your average monthly sales within the last 3 months or so, depending on how many bank statements, how much information we have to collect, your banking deposits, and so forth. So now let me jump right into that, into the share screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. What you're looking on the screen is qualifications for a certain lender, for a brokerage, etc. This is not defined to everything. Now, but this is what you're going to see just across all the board, especially when you're dealing with cash flow based funding. Cash flow based funding can come in the form of interest rates being somewhere between, if it's an SBA, it can be 5 to 9. Above that, you're talking about in the early teens. And then in a lot of cases, you're talking about 20 to 50% or so in interest. But what I say to that, and let me move this screen over before you start thinking, well, I don't want to pay 30%, 45% interest. And then people talk to me and they go, now I'll find a better way to go do this. And they go apply to someone else. And the truth is, they end up coming back to me. I've had individuals last week, I had multiple. It was kind of strange that I had it in a week. It's not strange that it has happened, but people were like, I never found your email, because they didn't take the time to look for it. And they ended up going to go apply for someone else. Now there's multiple ones declaring bankruptcy. There's people that got themselves in a bad situation, and I tried to help and I did what I could, but they decided to go somewhere else. Some people didn't know that I had sent them something because they didn't take the time to look. The others just ignored it. They thought they were right. They thought they would go find something better. And now they're in a predicament, and they may have found something better. There's a very low percentage of them that will. But what I'm saying is I deal with the best lenders and underwriters in the industry. So it does not matter what brokerage, what individual lender you'll go to. I deal with the best ones, the best underwriting team, the senior, junior officers, the lenders out there available, the best team collectively that can help you get the best funding offer, whether you're looking for a non-collateralized or a collateralized loan, real estate financing, building business credit, all this, I've been through it myself. So I know the issues that will arise. And a big majority of people end up going ghost. Like, I'll try to email you. Are you still interested? It's been 5 days. We talked about this about 4 days ago. And you said you were happy enough to get moving with getting funding, but then you say one thing and you do a whole nother thing. Who are you? That's what you need to ask yourself. Have you identified who you are, what your actual values are, your characteristics? Because I know my own. And this isn't to be aggressive or mean. This is just to say, hey, have you worked on yourself enough? And a lot of us business owners, we don't. We portray what we think is an image, our ego. We portray what we want to say to someone, but we don't follow through. We may not say it to them verbally. We may think it to ourselves. And that's where it's even a bigger problem. We're telling ourselves, we're tricking our brain. We're saying we'll do it, but we never end up getting around to it. Now, let me get back into this document. For qualifications, and again, like I said, this is relative to the brokerage and lenders, etc. But for the most part, this is what you'll see in a lot of cases. Do you have a business checking account? And I'll get into this with another document we'll look at in just a moment. It must be in the name of your business, not a personal account that you're using for business. So again, why is this video so important to you outside of everybody else trying to tell you little politician details about the EIDL doing this, the payment protection program? And what I'm showing you is reality of what you need to have prepared, not only SBA related, but everything else out there, private lending, building business credit, things that we look for that people are not sharing with you until you get into something and you're like, well, I wish I would have known about this because now I wasted 30 minutes and I don't want to waste your energy or time. Neither do you want to waste mine. Do you have a business checking account? Must be in the name of your business, not a personal account that you use for business. Now, there is an exception to that rule, and I'll be getting into that in a moment. But if you are a self-employed 1099 gig worker, independent contractor, non-W-2 funding, and you're using a personal checking account for business, that is okay at the moment. There's a specific program where you can only receive up to $5,000. You can't get anything over that. You have to be doing at least $3,000 plus per month. And I'll leave more information of that down below, as well as a questionnaire form if you guys need help getting funding, where you can get a personalized and customized email response on your best funding option and options. Very thoroughly broken down from the introduction, qualifications, how it works, the numbers of all these services, if more than one, as well as bonus tips, bonus material, conclusion on what I would do and how to get moving forward in the correct possible way. Do I need to collect bank statements? Will I ask for them? Is there a digital application where you could upload it, where then I can see it from there, etc.? The list goes on and on. So if you are a 1099 independent gig self-employed, gig worker, and you're using a personal account for business, there's an exception to that right now where you can use that, but you're limited to only getting $5,000 with a specific lender, with a specific program. Then I'm going to leave more information for you down below in the description. Startup funding, I'll leave that. I just came out with a video today on grant opportunities, specifically through a grant type of membership program. And if you guys want to learn more about that, I'll try to leave it for you down below. If it's not in the description, go to my recent videos and you'll see it on a review called USA Funding Application. So make sure to go there to check it out. Online banking information, is it set up? Why is that important to you? Because nowadays we need to verify PDF. We need to see anything that's like DocuSign, everything that we're collecting PDF wise and so forth. So you're not manipulating things. So we can clearly see it. You're just not taking a picture of it or sending it via email, faxing it to us, right? Like it was 20 to 30 years ago. I remember a lot of that my mom doing. She would always say, here, I can fax them the information. Do you guys ever remember that? Like if you were in that situation? I know I was a student at a time. And my mom would always say, hey, I'll just fax them the information. They're not in office. I'll send them to this number. Beep, beep, boop, boop. It was kind of funny. I'd just show up for a few minutes and then she would get it done. And it was a little bit different back then. But let me move over to this again. You are not transferring funds from multiple bank accounts and not going from personal to business checking, because this does not count as true deposits or organic deposits, and that being ACH, checks, etc., cash. Inject, this is the rule of thumb. Inject what you're getting into your primary checking account. I'm going to move this on the screen so you guys can fully understand what I mean by this. So don't transfer funds from multiple business accounts, banking accounts. The thing you're doing is it can look manipulating, like you're manipulating bank statements to a lender, myself, the underwriters. Whether you are or not, that's just how it's stated. You just have to come to terms with that. You're like, well, I'm not. If I look through your bank statements and I see that there's transferring, checking, or deposited this, there may be ACH and that and so forth that can be gone through. But if you're just transferring multiple funds and funds from other accounts, especially if you're doing millions upon billions, it's going to hurt. And that's primarily the way your business is set up to collect payments. Perhaps there's a third-party customer, or you're collecting payments in a certain way and you're not injecting them into your business until a certain amount of time because you need everything to be allocated, operational costs. I get it. But you have to come up with a better system of collecting cash, injecting into one primary business checking account. Deposit into that one primary account, and hasta la vista. We can get moving forward without having to do this whole back and forth. And you're going to be set up for more success in the future for other types of funding programs. And you're going to be so thankful that you got this information, whether you qualify for something right now or not. Tell me how many SBA workshops. Tell me how many YouTube videos, what blog posts. Actually go in depth, who understand how this works, who gets the information not only from their lenders, but from underwriters, but also going through meetings, going through these other workshops that you're not known to go through. But myself as the broker, this is by far some of the best stuff you're ever going to get online. Now, make sure you're not doing that. Like I said earlier, if you're using from personal to business, there's an exception for 1099 gig worker, self-employee, independent contractor funding. And I'll leave more information on that below, but you're capped out at about 5,000 at this moment. And you'd get about between 20 to 25% of your average monthly sales. And we also look at your lowest month. And then you don't need a personal credit score check. We won't look at that. And it could be more of an automated process because manually it takes more time to look through those files. And we just don't have the manpower and want to have the energy to put to that because a lot of people can end up getting declined. Excuse me. So that is very important that you are you're not transferring from three. I get you may have multiple business checking accounts, payroll, equipment, and working capital, and then this. I get it. I know it because I've seen it all. Friends and family, yourself. So I fully understand. And I've gone through it myself too, funding my own businesses. If you heard my story on that, I won't get into this right now. But I know how difficult it can be. I really do know, from a complete startup to every single step. Now, no more than 5 non-sufficient funds NSFs or negative days in any of the last 3 months. So negative bank balances, you are having overdrafts, bounced checks, non-sufficient funds, or negative days in any of the last 3 months is what you're going to see very commonly, not only with cash flow based, but then some collateralized products who actually look at the bank statements, and they will even look at more than just 3 months, 4, 6 months, even up to 12 months. You're having too many negative days, you have non-sufficient funds, that will really, really hurt you. And this is a big reason a lot of people end up getting declined, on top of the banking activity, as I just spoke about, the transferring from multiple accounts, not looked at as true deposits. Well, if you're depositing and transferring 50,000 and you're making 100,000, but you only had 50,000 that you directly transferred in your business account, so it can't be 50 times 2. It wouldn't be 100,000. It'll only be 50,000 because you're transferring. You have to be careful doing that, and don't manipulate. I'm going to get into the not have issues part. So no more than 5 non-sufficient funds, and then maybe relative to each program, lender, etc. But this is very common, and no negative days in any of the last 3 months. We don't want to see overdrafts. We don't want to see bounce checks. Nothing being manipulated, transfers, because that's still manipulating. We want to see everything being organically deposited into that one account. Now, if you're having a Square account, pushing it into your personal checking, stop that right now. Even if you have a personal checking account, what I highly recommend you do is open up a business checking account if possible and start transferring, or not, I don't want to use the word transferring because that has a wrong connotation if used in the wrong way. But you're pushing Square into a business checking account, there's no problem. Now, but if you're pushing from Square personal into that, and then that goes into the different one, if it doesn't allow you to have a different account, it's going to bring up a lot of problems. It's not only with Square, there's a lot of other services. So this is just one specific program, but for this one, we're asking for 15,000 per month. There's other ones for 5,000. Are you doing 3,000? Perhaps you're doing 1,500 in average daily bank balance, or 1,500, excuse me, in the amount of deposits within a month. You have to have an average of 150 in average daily bank balance. Do you not have that? So this is why a lot of people get declined for funding, and they don't get the expected amount because you just don't have enough in the bank. When the bank statements show us, if we're looking at profits, tax returns, I can see numbers. I can see everything that I need to know that, hey, we thought you could get 100,000 doing 80,000, but it looks like you won't even get 70,000. It looks like we could probably give you 50,000. Why? Because deposits, how frequently, and I'm going to get into the next part. How much are you doing? Average daily bank balance, starting ending bank balance, number of deposits. I'm going to get into that now. Transactions. Are you gambling? How are you using your money? Credited and debited, as well as more. And then we still have to look at the credit side of the equation. Soft pulls a lot of the times, SBA hard pulls. Some like merchant cash advances won't report to the main credit bureaus, especially business credit bureaus, which is fine. And other ones will. So it all depends on what you qualify for and what is the best service. It's not about the interest. The interest is only one part of the equation. What I mean by that is, I was just thinking about this. I was coming back home from the store. I went to Goodwill to donate. I had a lot of clothes in the closet. And so we had to remove some things, and I had to go to Goodwill, waited in the line for a good 5 or 10 minutes. Got out of the car, put about 4 to 5 handful of black bags in a cart where gratefully an individual was there to collect. Got back in, got some food. I got Carl's Jr. yesterday. I haven't had a Carl's Jr. burger in a long time. I was craving a Western bacon. And so after that, got home. But just before I pulled into the driveway, a thought came across my mind. And I was listening to one of my mentors, but as well as a podcast, something that just reminded me of what I'm already doing, but I needed it. A lot of us always need a constant reminder for certain things. So I started understanding a little bit, and I started hearing how interest, it's only one part of the equation. And I've been overemphasizing this to you guys a lot of the times. Interest is only one part. You will want a 6 to 10%. Can't get anything below that a lot of times, especially with today's interest rates, the inflation and everything happening in our economy. So that's okay. That's a bargain, especially in the early teens. Even if you're going 20 and 50% and above, you have to think about this. What are my terms? What is my repayment? What can I take on? Do I understand what I need to use the funds for? You shouldn't be asking. I jumped in a Reddit. I have a Reddit account. I never really do this. people were not giving the right response. And so I needed to jump in and give my best answer. I said, let me first address your first issue. You don't even know what you're using your funds for. You're hypothetically speaking, as if we were in a chemistry science class. You're hypothesizing what you think you're going to use the funds for and the outcome. That's a disaster. If you don't understand, if I'm going to take these funds and I'm going to apply them this way, working capital, growth and expansion, what would it do to my bottom line? Would it increase it? Would it keep it stable? Would it drop it? If I wanted growth and expansion, what would be my ROI in the immediate future? Short term, medium. What does it look like long term, if anything? What does it look like in the season that you're about to get into? Is that why you wanted the funds? For an expansion to open up a new building to your current existing business? Do you truly understand what is happening when you take the funding? That's why people end up saying, these hard money loans, they just don't work. You shouldn't go for that. Stop that. People just don't understand that it depends on their qualifications. It depends on a lot of factors. They're not you. You're not them. So somebody who says, I'm getting 35% interest, I'm paying back $5,000 a month, getting $30,000, then I'm going to double my money and get $60,000 consistently over the next 3 to 4 months. Thereafter, I'm going to double that, $120,000 for the next 2 months. And then it'll go dipping down, which is fine. That makes a lot of sense. So now let me get back into this document. So you're depositing, okay, so doing 15 months, we said there's a different section. This is just a separate. You're depositing frequently and consistently at least 3+. Excuse me. Don't try to have milk and water and cereal and then drink a little bit of water after that. 3+ times per month over the last 90 or so days. Now 1 month, 3 deposits, and then another 2, and then 1 or 3, 2, 3, etc. You want to have consistently at least 3+, and this is with the specific lender / brokerage. And in some cases, they'll ask for 5 deposits at minimum, 5 to 7. If not, 7 and above is what we're looking at. And we may raise the standard on what the actual minimum revenue you need to have to get approved for that type of funding as well. So keep that on the back of your mind. A lot of people have fluctuations, especially with these hard times, where you're only depositing one check of about $80,000, or you're doing only one ACH deposit, or you're doing it only one direct into your account instead of you doing it 3+ times per month over the last 90 days or so, depending on how much bank statements and how much information we're requesting. Current loan consideration. If you have a current capital advance, the amount you still owe will be taken into consideration and cause a reduction in your approval amount. More funds, at least second to fourth positions, it depends on who you go to, may be available. If you have an existing cash advance, or it could be a business loan, which if you do or don't, I just left a little example there, it will cause a reduction in what you can get. And if you had more positions, you may not get anything at all. So stop with the, well, I have 2 other loans, or I have 2 other cash advances. I'm on a 2-year, I'm on a 6-month, I want to get at least a year. It does not work that way. If you came to me and you said, hey, I went from $40,000 in revenue to about $80,000 consistently now, and I have 3+ years of business instead of 2 years or 1 year, and I have a 750 FICO or 700 and above, you're industry specific and other bank statements, everything looks clean, then perhaps you fall in a category where we can get you between 12 to 24 months, if not over 24 months, if it makes sense. But if you're coming to me with something existing and you're like, well, I have 7 months with this loan or cash advance, and I want to get 2 years at least and drop my payment by at least $100 and do at least $100 a day payment, you're not in this world right now. It's I know, and I don't say that in an aggressive way. And I say that in a way that, hey, I'm trying to be your, go-to person who is also giving you tough love. And you have to get an understanding that it's not because what you want is what's always right. The customer, you yourself, isn't always right in terms of what you should get. Now, me taking care of you, caring about you as a human first and foremost, that's what I truly care about. I'm not saying I don't. That is different. So don't get my words twisted if you're thinking that. So one more thing before moving forward. Everything in the description will be there for you so you can get an understanding. The questionnaire form, start there if you have not yet to get help. Now, This goes the same with all business loans, but if it's idle, then you have only, then it's okay. They are not correlated and shouldn't cause a reduction if you're getting like an unsecured term loan, maybe a secured term loan, cash out advance, hybrid cash out advance, equipment financing, personal loans, etc. They shouldn't be affected by that fact that you have the idle loan. Even if you don't, it's different. So also, you shouldn't have issues with financial fraud, period. Past default and past default judgment in place. Submitted altered bank statements to another lender. This is crucial. Do not by any means ever submit altered bank statements to myself and a lender and think you will get away with it, because you will never. It's just 99.99% of the time, there's very much a minimal amount, but that gets screened so well. Think about it as like you're going through the airport. You know how you have to like do this when some machines have it where you have to lift your hands up in front of it and then you can go, and then you have to put everything on the conveyor belt before that. And when I was going from Portland PDX to California in the morning, we left at 6 a.m. was our flight. They had the dog sniffing people as they were walking through a line before they were getting their ID or their IDs checked before they were going to go get scanned for everything. And so I was like, oh, that's different. I haven't seen that. But there are multiple stop points that the lenders within their data merge, their systems, and I won't get into what they're using, they see this. And if you're a part of that, you will never, ever, ever, ever get funding, period. You manipulate bank statements, you're done. Don't come back. Very minimal. There's probably one lender and I know of, and they'll say, yeah, but here, pay this off for me in 3 months. You're going to pay back $12,000 a month. Pay this off for me in 2 to 3 months. Added interest on this. And then maybe if you pay half of that, if you truly show you're making those payments back and you show you can pay over 50%, and if not the whole thing, we'll increase your rates and terms, perhaps give you more than you need, or give you what's close enough, if anything, to you desire. But don't count on that. Don't be that person who's going to be looking around asking, hey, I didn't get approved here because of my bank statements. I'm going to go try to find someone else, and you end up going through somebody who scams you. So don't be that person who manipulates. I've had a lot of people doing this. A lot of people. I can't even begin to tell you the underwriters and people who say it straight to my face. No, when I ask them the question, no, I don't manipulate bank statements. I don't know what you're talking about. Or they go, oh, yeah, I don't. It's just a whole waste of energy and time. Just don't start with that. Please save us the time and energy. So submitted altered bank statements to another lender that's trying to change the depositing and your bank balance and your average daily bank balance and your starting, ending, your transactions, your credit, your debit, all that stuff can get screened and found out. So financial fraud, past default and past default judgment in place, which means you can't make your payments. You try to defer it. Listen, a lot of the times this will not, even if you have a good enough of a relationship, even a great one, they'll say, hey, we can lower the payment, perhaps. Maybe we can get you less instead of taking on more than you can chew, but we will never give you an offer you can't afford or another way handle. But if you default, you can't make those payments back. A lot of the times there are personal guarantees. They'll need to get their money back. They'll need to find a way to be able to do that with assets. So be sure when you take the funding, you understand that you are in a healthy way, understanding what your repayments are. And it can be different with a line of credit because you don't have to pay it up all at once. So you may get approved for that. You may not. Now, let me open up this other page here. I thought I'd be going less than 30 minutes. I do apologize. Try to end this before 50 minutes. So this is banking activity to be very careful about. And I already went over this, but let me just reemphasize it. Please read this to the very bottom, and I'll try to read this for you down below. Here's how your banking activity could be causing you to get declined for a business loan advance forever. Your banking activity may be leading you to doing this: transferring your funds between multiple accounts, which from a lender's point of view, you are manipulating your bank statements, whether you think you are or may not be, but this is how it stands, as I said. Therefore, most of your funds are not deposits. Instead, they are transfers from your bank accounts, which thus equals low volume after the fact. Oh, and perhaps your industry that you're in, it factors in and it makes it even worse. P.S. This is all more of an issue for those who have a business checking account. And if you don't have one, as I spoke about the self-employed funding, there's that example. So what is the best option? Perhaps a personal loan. Use for business if you have strong enough credit, because we value strong credit as opposed to cash flow. But we still have to look and see what you qualify for. And if we're expecting a lot in one take and you can't come back and time again get more, then it may not even work for you. So now be careful of transferring your funds. Just don't do it. Just have one main account, business checking account for your sales deposits, and this will not be an issue. Personal accounts, checking accounts to business checking account is not actual revenue in your business account. And be careful to have too many business checking accounts depositing funds into other business checking accounts as well as other banking institutions, because as I said before, it doesn't look like organic, true deposits. They won't count as your total revenue for those months, etc. Before I forget, in frequency of deposits, as I said earlier, you need to be depositing frequently per monthly basis when we check. And if it's little to nothing, you have some months and then others in the last 3 to 6 or so months, however much we check and need to gather, you will not qualify. Also, one or a couple huge payments, have it be in the beginning, middle, or end of the month, will not work, no matter how large or even little. At least 3+ deposits, if not 5 to 7+, as I said before. The more, the better, and be consistently doing it. Frequency matters, not just 1-3 months and then you're like, I didn't do it. No, frequency of depositing. If you've applied to different places with these issues, you are very likely on the lender's watch list. I just haven't really told you that. I can't disclose that information to you individually. And in their system, signaling red flags. This is why you don't just apply everywhere and everywhere, the shotgun approach, without fixing the cause. And I don't mean shotgun approach as in, if you gave me your file and we go shop for an offer, they're not going to be pulling your credit like hard pulls. It goes from one company and we can go find you the best offer. There are direct private lenders I can also send you to individually, but a lot of the times it's best to go through these companies that can find you the best lenders. Perhaps you get more than one offer, which is better, because then we can give you the best one available. So let me come back to, I think you guys are able to see that. Here, I apologize. I know I'm on StreamYard, and what happens is, not like Zoom, I can't switch screens until I copy and paste the URL from a different. So now you're seeing the most updated version, I believe. Yeah, there it is. So this is the document that I've been going to. You're like, well, where's he reading off from? This is all created by myself from all the experience I have. So before I forget, infrequency of deposits, another issue. As I said, you will not qualify. Huge payments. Don't just go and apply anywhere. Fix the cause. Don't just fix the symptom. Go through the diagnosis. Fraudulent activity is 100% going to shut you down for funding. No questions asked. Use a personal account for gig worker, 1099, self-employed funding at this moment, and so forth. Now let me transition screens to the other programs available. Actually, I'll just go off of this and I'll end it after this part. So there's the employee retention credit, who could still be accepting applications. Not necessarily will they be always funding you, but up to $26,000 per employee is what you can get. Is one part. It's in a refundable tax credit that will reward businesses up to $26,000 per employee, as I just mentioned. It's designed to reward and encourage businesses as your own to keep your employees on payroll. It's been dramatically expanded to provide more financing to a larger group of employees and employers and so forth. So I'll leave more information of that program down below in the description, but I have my other tab here you perhaps can't see. I have pieces of document that I put down. So qualify with decreased revenue or COVID events, no limit on funding. ERTC is not a loan. It's a refundable tax credit, and over 6,000 businesses have been reached. Over 1 million credits recovered, 108,000 plus employees qualified. And there's more information that I'll leave for that down below. So now let me move away from this screen and we'll close up shop here. Okay, so you got to hear from me about the SBA EIDL loan increases and what's happening on that end, how EIDL funds are exhausted, and what you should be doing if you're not one of the individual who's currently in the queue and realistically not getting funded at this moment, or perhaps won't get funded until it's reopened. Who knows when that'll happen and more funds are being deposited. So what should you do to prepare for that? As I spoke about, start understanding what it means to be more fundable, what it means to have more than just a 570 FICO, 600, what it means to have a 625 and above, a 650, which I speak about a lot on this channel, what it means to have more than 2+ years, why that's beneficial, why even 3+ years, why the guidelines are becoming more constricted, kind of like a snake when it, contracting and it's eating and so forth, how hard it may feel to go through all these processes because of inflation, because industry specific. And there's so much happening right now out in the market, stocks and everything plummeting, and recession wise, what could possibly be facing there. And a lot of the reasons why people end up getting declined is because of their banking activity. They don't understand how to why they're transferring deposits, why that's actually hurting them, why you should be depositing in a certain way, why you shouldn't be doing it that way, why you shouldn't be going to these online marketplaces. Don't go to them directly. If you need help, go through my questionnaire will be the most legitimate and proper way of getting help. And let me actually put this on the screen for you guys so you guys can see what it is I'm actually speaking about. And then I will close up shop here. So this is my questionnaire form. You've probably seen this already, so just stick with me. So this is my questionnaire form. You've probably seen this already. I press play on I have the YouTube tab open so I can see where this is streaming. And I think I pressed play on it by accident. So now let me see. Okay, I think this is working now. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can't, let me know in the comments. But this is the questionnaire form you'll want to submit, and I have it down below. It'll say something like business loan contact form or questionnaire form, where you're going to get a complete and very personalized, customized email response on your best funding option and options. Plus, you're going to get a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist to get you approved for funding much faster. Literally, you can get this done in less than 30 seconds. It'll be well worth your time. About us, some of the services we offer, and there are a lot more. I'll put the and more here, but these are just some. I just wanted to put a handful. The key benefits, how it works, a video that may be there, may not be in time, maybe changed, but it'll look something like this more or less. And I'm going to show up. And there's still some of you who I still need to get to. If you haven't heard me say this, Fridays and Saturdays are usually my catch-up days. I'll try to do some in between the week, but there's so many that can come in. So get it done right the first time, and then I don't have to be shuffling around because I can crank these out very well. And they're personalized highly and customized for you and what you qualify for. You might have something different than another person. You may have a different conclusion. You may have different numbers, qualifications, requirements, everything. And it's all going to be in there. So that's what you could do. And you can go to the site, viralfundingsolutions.com, that I'll link you to down below. But go through this questionnaire would be the best thing to do and best way for you to move forward. Now, that will conclude everything in this video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to voice them for me down below. Grant opportunities, SBA EIDL updates, all that I'll leave for you down below in the description. PPP also, employee retention tax credits, more programs that could be coming out here in the future, possible things happening with the COVID relief bill, the restaurant revitalization funds, private lending options, PayPal working capital, non-private lending options, and different types of interest rates and what to expect if you have collateral, if you don't have collateral. It's all about what you bring to the table. And you have to think about it this way. Does the benefit exceed your repayment? Don't look at it just interest. Excuse me. Total payback is what you need to understand. What does it look like on a daily, weekly? What is the remittance schedule? What does it look like daily, weekly, bi-weekly, on a monthly basis? If it's not a monthly payment, if it's a weekly repayment, what does that look like? If it's a daily, okay, it's fine. Is it too much? Is it too much, but I can handle it, but I need the funding? I need that hard money, or it's not hard money, but I need the funding because I'm going to double, triple, quadruple my profits. This is all I can qualify for. And it makes sense because I'm cash flow positive. If not, perhaps a line of credit. Perhaps you can back things up with collateral. And we have accounts receivable financing, which is a great one. You can use unpaid invoices. And I'm going to leave more information on it down below, as well as other asset-based lending options. That is everything from myself. If you've got value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you feel someone else will, it can be a complete stranger, friend or a family member, I would be very grateful if you could share that with someone else who was or is in your position right this moment, who is just struggling, who is facing bankruptcy, who is on the verge of not understanding anything and just continuously goes in this hamster wheel. And if you have not subscribed and you're watching for the very first time, or possibly multiple times, please subscribe and click that bell notification icon so you do not miss any future videos I will be coming out with. That is everything from myself for today. Talk to you all soon. Take care.